Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Is That an Owl Bear podcast? I'm DM Joe, and this here is
Is that an owl bear? A D&D podcast.
oh gosh, it's been so long. It feels like ages. So much has happened. I
We
get our name
promise this
wrong.
is ours. We promise it's that we know its name. It's our baby and we love it. I'm Cristina.
Ah, is she? We're doing our best, but as you've heard from us before, it's basically just good intentions, duct tape, and hope at this point.
He does.
Oh
Just really hoping that
gosh.
that the school project that we did the night before makes it to school. Like that
Correct. I
that's the vibe.
it's more than the vibe. It's my dog ate my homework, but for realsies.
I
For
promise,
reals.
I promise that this solar system that I made out of foam and only has 2 planets. I promise it was complete before
How
I got
many
out of the bus.
how many is complete planets?
I do not want to have that discussion. Listen, I am not gonna have the Pluto discussion here. Okay. I will
Without
not,
count
I
with okay,
refuse.
counting Pluto, how many planets are there?
9.
I'm gonna say yes.
Alexa, how many planets are in the solar system?
There are 8 planets in the solar system.
So there are 9 planets.
9 because
I was
Pluto.
right. I was
You are right. We were both right because I was also gonna say 9.
Look
I'm
at us.
glad. I'm glad. See, guys, can you tell that we will as you guys know, we born and raised in Panama, we graduate either like science or letters
We
or like language.
we
Oh,
learned about the solar system in the 90s. Okay? Like we learned about the solar system in the 90s. A lot has changed since. There
oh my
is
god.
technically another planet after Pluto that is in our solar system, but this is a D&D podcast. So,
Not a solar podcast.
not an
So
astrology podcast. So, we're going to go ahead and talk about some D&D. I'm sorry, astronomy. Because astrology is my sun, moon, and rising. You don't need to know that information. It's Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. All right, go on.
I don't wanna. I want to keep talking about Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. Well, I want to
Please go
start
to
off
our
by
YouTube.
saying, yeah, please. Or I mean, honestly, or don't, because we're just a bunch of fools.
it's it's
Um,
it's a great mess.
it is. I want to start off, by sharing that I have officially been pro DMing for over a month now, and I'm super excited. And it's about making dreams come true. And for those that know me, you know how much of a big deal that is. And for those that don't know me, now you know because I told you. So I'm very happy like D&D is taking up this big part of my life. And I just wanted to share that on the podcast because it's a big deal for me. So if in
Really
case you
is.
guys want to play with me or us, you can find me at startplaying.games/DMJoe. More than happy to help
It's a
you out
fun
on your way.
time.
It is a fun time. So far, my players are really loving the adventure, and what I did was I took my ongoing adventure that I'm playing here in Panama, which is homebrew,
Mhm.
long-term leveling, and rather than make it West Marches, I made it a standard campaign, so you don't always have
Mhm.
to go back to base. And people are going mystery after mystery, like chickens without their head. They're just like, "What's this? Let me touch this." And I
Yes.
honestly love it. The group of players that we have, so much fun. um I'm just super excited, so I wanted to start off with that because I'm very happy, and it's a big part of D&D, and this is a D&D podcast, not a astronomy
And
podcast.
again, where can they find you if they're interested?
You can find me at startplaying.games/DMJoe.
All right, awesome. We're probably gonna add that link to the description of this podcast. So if you wanna go check him out, set up on not an appointment. That is with doctors. Set up a session and play with DM Joe. Just
And
check
if
it out.
you're interested, if you reached us through Owlbear, like go ahead and let us know. I'm sure I can talk to Cristina and convince her to come play with us.
Oh my God. Yes, it's a mess.
And that would be
Let's.
super fun. She definitely knows how to play and knows the rules very well back and
I
forth.
do. And I actually kind of know how to podcast. I promise.
And she knows, I mean, she's the type of player that we would label the casual.
The casual.
The casual. As you figured it out, we're gonna talk about the different types of players. Yeah, look at that. The
Segue queen.
No, I didn't say it. Trixie's coming after you.
No, Trixie, don't do it.
She's gonna read you. Okay, so we're talking about the different types of players in case you can identify you or your party. And the main reason that I wanted to talk about this subject in particular was, as we've always said on this podcast, not every table is for every player. So what I'm trying to help you figure out is, who are those players? Like, who are they? What is their archetype?
Like archetypes. Yeah, yes. Look at that.
What works for you to be able to find them and find a table that is more suited for you in case you're
best suited.
That's the term. Thank you, English.
You're welcome.
And we're gonna start off with seeing how we mention it, the casual, which is Cristina, which she's just here to have fun.
I am.
She'll read the rules if she has to, but she won't remember them. So
I'm here for the role play.
Yeah.
Came for the role play, stayed for the snacks.
Yes. But you also enjoy the game, because there is like the storyteller, which is the person who really just comes for the role play.
Right. Yes.
Which, like, it means that when there's a battle, they'll kind of disconnect, take out a book, or be very like retracted. You're not like that.
I like the
you put a lot of effort into role playing, and then you put a minimal effort into combat, which is fine. It's like
I try. A minimum. It's a 75-25.
Which means the minimal is the 25.
But that 25, I put my all.
Correct.
I give my all.
Honestly, a lot of players are casual players, people who come to have a good time, and everything else, all the extra brouhaha or whatever, is just extra. They're just here, play for a couple of hours, have a good time, enjoy the friends, have a nice social activity. So that's one of them. While the storyteller will be here to constantly tell you and everybody else around you that they have to role play, that they're not speaking in character, and they'll be very on that vibe.
They're very method acting.
Yes, which is fun, but also not all tables are Critical Role, right? Like we have to. That's a big thing that happens to a lot of new players. They call it the Matthew Mercer effect, which basically he brought in his role playing skills and noises and acting and this
style.
And that. Yes, and a lot of people who come into D&D that just found it through Critical Role are expecting every dungeon master to do that, and honestly, they don't have to. Like, yes, Matthew Mercer is great at what he does.
He's daddy, yes.
Yes, he's granddaddy of role playing. He like sits there.
Just daddy. Much respect to his wife. I did call him daddy. I called him, he is a long-haired zaddy. That's all. No, that's not all he is, but that's that's not all he is, but that's
guys,
what I call him in my heart.
Canceled. Sadie Mercer.
Sadie
I mean, honestly,
Mercer.
we stand. So
listen,
yeah,
that man has
just keep that in mind.
Like,
he has the same haircut that I have.
He does.
And I want to be clear and say that we both had this haircut
for
without
decades,
aware of our existence.
That's true. That's true.
I don't want to hear it. I don't wear sweater vests though. After the casual and the storyteller
for that.
Oh my God. We have the power gamer, which I want to be clear that power gamers aren't inherently bad. Like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to have the most optimized character build. That's fine, but you can't be mad at other players for not doing that.
Okay.
Like
Noted.
if someone wants to play like, I think the example that I always say, like a gnome barbarian, that's not optimized at all. Like gnomes are small and squishy and they don't have a higher strength stat, but it's perfectly fine. There's all types of races and classes that go together. So
Right.
my challenge that I've found with power gamers have been with when they get into someone else's business. And they're like,
Okay.
don't do that. That's not going to give you the optimize. And it's like,
Don't tell me how to fucking play.
very that.
Noted.
So that's a different type of player. And then we have the rules traditionalist. Also, I want to say before we continue, I was trying to put up my list and then I Googled and I found a Reddit post by TBTN Gaming. This is where I'm getting it because the same thing that I was putting together is basically this post. And I was like, this is correct. The rules traditionists are people who know the rules and they want you to know that they know the rules and they want you to play with the rules as long as they're at the table. And they'll argue directly with either the DM or the players if they don't know the rules or they didn't interpret the rules in a particularly way. And that's where it gets a little complicated because I'm a DM of Rule of Cool. Like I know the rules to an extent. I'm gonna be. I don't know absolutely every rule. There are
every
a lot of
single
rules.
one, right?
I might have to give me a second. Let me Google it, and if I read it and I interpret it a certain way, the book says the Dungeon Master guy says it's whatever the DM says.
Right.
So that's just the way. You can obviously mention like, oh, I don't think it's like this, and you can dialogue. But at the end of the day, Dungeon Master has final say.
Okay.
Just to keep it moving.
Right. Of course.
And a rule traditionalist will sit there and be like, it's not like that. And then we'll argue some more. And that's.
So who's telling the story here? Who's telling the story?
Yeah, it's not the vibe. It's not the vibe.
But
it's still.
It's not cute. Okay.
Yeah. I do appreciate the difference between the rules traditionalist and the rules lawyer.
All right.
Because a rules lawyer will, like the traditionalist might eventually back down or things like that. The rules lawyer will interrupt you to tell you, no, your spell is at level 3, this and that, and you need to cast it this way and roll that. And it gets to a point where it's overbearing and very disrupts the narrative that we have going on. So that's a type of player that if not controlled or spoken to privately, being like, hey guy, just like simmer it down, it can become very disruptive to session.
Okay. I mean, I see that. And I wouldn't say that the tables that we've played together and necessarily have a rule lawyer per se. I would never say that, but I think that we might have had moments when it's kind of like, how about we move this along? Like we've been stuck here. We've been stuck here for a minute, defining whether or not what the book says is what's gonna happen here. So let's just keep it going.
Because there's no point in to sit there and just keep debating this one rule over and over. Just make a call and carry on. And players be aware that the DM made a call and we're moving on. And if at the end of the game you're bothered because it was the wrong call or you didn't like it, talk to him then. Don't just hold up the game directly. My best friend, Charlie, hi, I know you listen, is a rules traditionalist, but he does it in the best way that like he studies the rules, he knows what's happening. And if I ever flub something, fall a rule, he'll like let me know in a very like polite way. And I really like playing with someone like that because I spend a lot of my energy on being very creative. Like my time, rather than sit around and read what a wizard level 7 does and memorize that, I'm here making a map for you that you won't forget and just really putting my energy in that. So I work yes, I work very well with someone who knows the rules and be like, hey, I don't, and is polite about it, because that's the thing.
1,000%. 1,000%. And I will say
so
that
many
it's
rules.
very helpful as a player as a casual player, it is very helpful to have somebody like Charlie, hey, in your table, because it's a genuine, and the way that he does it at the very least, it's very, it helps keep the session moving. It helps shine light on what the player is actually trying to accomplish, realizing whether or not they can make it. Because even though there is the rule of cool, if your character inherently is not able to do a thing, that also needs to be taken into consideration. Like it's not just but I want to do that, so I do.
Correct.
It's not like that.
At the very least, you need to make a check, right?
Correct.
Like you need to roll a die and see if you pass, and
correct,
you might not pass.
You
and
might
that's
not.
about it. Yeah.
So it's really helpful
So-
to have somebody who's at least proficient enough in the rules to
Mhm.
be able to advocate for a better or more realistic outcome under the circumstances. That's how I would put it.
I agree. And it's not only that, but if there is no one at the table that is that role, then that does fall on the DM.
Yeah.
Like that is the inherent truth is if you have no one that knows the game, that sat down and actually read and absorbed absolutely all of it, it is up to the DM to do that because that is part of the responsibilities.
Correct.
But
So thank you, Charlie. We appreciate you.
We love you. Thank you. I'm very much well aware that you are the mind behind the rules. You probably wrote the book, published the book, you did all that.
At the very
Then we have-
least, distributed.
Yeah. Then we have another I think this type of player is one that can really when you're looking for your party, this can be someone that really makes you either love or hate the particular table, which is the home brewer. Is that one guy that wants to bring his home creations, and you said balance and he says, what does that mean? You know, like it necessarily the home brewer doesn't have to be a bad home brewer. In my experience, it tends to break the game. And that's coming from a DM that homebrews the world, right? Like I homebrew absolutely everything. However,
that's true.
I have 23 years of experience where I have learned how to balance things through extra attacks, additional hit points, extra rounds. Like it's very simple for me because I've been doing it since I was 16. And I tend to give players more powerful weapons that break the game. This is an actual thing that I do.
This is factual.
Yes, but
I can vouch for this.
I unbreak the game because the monsters battles still last the amount of rounds that they have to last.
Correct.
They're not going to be shorter. They're not going to be longer. Players are just going to feel nicer because they're rolling the pretty sparkly math rocks more together. They'll be like click, 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 and then roll. And we'll be excited about it.
I feel attacked by this comment of yours. And I also feel called out, but mostly attacked because I do like my pretty shiny rock numbers. And I like it. Yes. And I like it when I go clink, 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 clink with them. And I like them when they roll and they make pretty sounds. Mostly they fail me, but I still think they're beautiful. And yes, I do enjoy rolling a plenty of them.
So if I
At
can
the
give
same
you a
time.
stronger weapon, it works well. But again, that's me being a DM. We're talking about players who it usually happens where they're like, I found this, I made this class race, and it's like,
can you do that?
Strength. You can make it and you take it to your DM and you're like, is this approved? And in theory, if it's well made, the DM could be like, yes. And if it's poorly made, he'll be like, it's the important thing is that you tried.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. If a player comes to you and they're like, all right, so I created this character whose race is this thing that I made, meaning that it's what?
Cat people.
Sure.
As an example.
Yes. Let's say they are Cat Bunny people. Why are they hybrid like that? We don't know. but they're cat bunnies. All right. And there's clearly not a cat bunny race in Dungeons and Dragons. How you personally, as a DM, how would you, if you like the character, how would you integrate a character like that in your story, in your already planned story? Because this character, just like the character is a person that is coming to your table, right? With this, right? So you already have a story, a world, everything planned, and they bring you this left field just character with race that you now have to incorporate not just this one person, but like their entire race, and how historically they might affect what you've already created.
Couple of things. I mean, if it's a new game, I can adapt to it and add a couple of things of important people of that race that have like participated, this and that. But I think if it's an ongoing game, the best way and easiest way for me to do it would be like, okay, you're this bunny cat person. You come from a foreign land, meaning you're not on the same continent where the story's happening. So over there, because I play homebrew, right? So I can just say the cat bunny people are coming from a different continent, and I'll then add it that way that you arrived because whatever plot. However,
okay,
the truth is, me personally, if you come to me and say, I want to homebrew a race or a class specifically, I'll probably say, I rather that specifically keep to raw. I just think things are the foundation where you can build homebrew on top of.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I think that we had a little bit of a technical...
Class and race are the foundation for you to build on top of. If you start messing with class and race, the game will break a lot faster.
Noted. All right.
That's just my...
When you say the game will break, what exactly do you mean?
Hi, I did 78 damage in just one attack. Let me roll my second attack where I did 99 because I add more modifiers.
Ew.
Or, of course, I have dark vision and I have double the speed and I have wings, and it's like,
I'm the puppy of this.
You're like, what happened? How did this race get created? Like, are you okay?
Who consent to this?
I was looking for vampires because I don't particularly like D&D vampires in the aspect that they're evil, so they have to be evil. I like I'm a Buffy fan, right? So I like my vampires with souls.
Always.
I like my... So I was looking for vampire as a race, and it took a while to find something that was balanced because vampires are meant to be stronger, are meant to be this and that. But the reality is, at best, you get +3 points to your attributes in any given time. If you give anything more than that, you're breaking the formula.
Noted. All right.
So it's, even if it's a vampire, you need to somehow tie it into the foundation or tell a player you can't start off as a vampire because you'll break the game.
Okay, like you can potentially turn while you're...
You can turn, and then I'll give you some stat boost, like your strength will go up 2 points or whatever, which is a normal thing that happens in level progression, rather than you starting off with more attributes off the start and more health and more this and more that.
Would you say that a compromise, to an extent, for somebody who wanted to create their own race, like staying in this topic, and you are just, and let's say that it's just, in the most respectful way, a clusterfuck. And right, would you say that, for example, offering potentially similar, already existing, like, races and classes, not classes, but races within the game that are already created, would you be like, why don't you look at these people or this group? Or at the very least, like, let's say that you are that you're a mixed race from this race and this race. In cases like that, it would be more like, but you have more attributes of this one to make it easier.
Before someone were to create any race, I would be like, why don't you look at this long list that Wizards of
Yeah,
the Coast
course.
has and see if you find what you're looking for. Because I don't even know the exact like I'm gonna Google
The
it.
amount. Like I can promise you that whatever you might think is so innovative that you're bringing to the fold, there's already something that kind of exists.
Like
That
there's 9 main, like the standard races, right?
Right?
Which feels little, but then all of those races have sub races. Um, let's see. Here are the 9. Then you have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. There's more than 40 races. Why don't we look through the 40 races before we, and there's like legacy races that are no longer valid. It's like, do you want to be a lion person? Because you can. Do you want to be a turtle person? Do you want to be a robot? Do you want to be a gnome robot?
Oh, on the what?
Did I just break you?
A little bit.
Space Jammer is like when fantasy and sci-fi kiss. And it's part of D&D. So you can play like a spaceship adventure where the races are Astro Elf, Autognome, Plasmoid,
I
Bug
like
People.
it. Why have we never done that?
Because I used to, as I've grown a lot, I used to be very like, this is the way I like fantasy. And
Okay.
I never even thought about like, what happens if there's space elves? Like, but I do like it now. In my current campaign, there are little robots.
I'm just saying it's giving Battlestar Galactica has a love child with, I don't want to say Lord of the Rings, but kind of.
But kind of. I kind of, honestly, if I'm 100% honest, I kind of want to play a Spelljammer adventure because it
I
just
would
seems
love to be
wild.
a part of that. Like it's just giving me it's giving me some like, I am not a Trekkie, but it's giving me like some Vulcan fantasy vibes. Like I would
Very
play
that.
that shit. I very that. You know, like
I'm vibing. Well, we can definitely look it up,
let's
see
talk
what's going on there.
about it.
We should, because I haven't
I
played that
think so.
ever.
I mean, clearly neither have I. So let's. So if any of you
Okay.
listeners want to play I want to call it a
Spell.
space odyssey. It's not that, but let's. Yeah.
She
See,
wants to
even
play Spelljammer.
I want to. I want to play space spelljammer, space jammer, spelljammer, space jam.
Honestly, I would be like, if we got a group that says like, let's play Spelljammer, I'll be like, let's fucking go to space. Let's go to space.
Fucking let's. Hey, if Sharknado could go to space, if Fast and the Furious could go to space, so can we.
The fact that those are the 2 movies that you go to doesn't really help the argument, but okay. Additionally to the previously listed type of players,
Yeah.
we also have the gamer. The gamer as a type of player is someone who plays World of Warcraft, Diablo, this type of thing. So their expectation is to come play a video game, and once they have to role play, they kind of like, their brain fries because they're like, what is happening? Where's my dialogue option to press A and skip this
skip.
Yes.
The skippers
tend to be focused on battle. I currently have a player, shout out, you know who you are when you hear this, I'm sure you're gonna write me, who is a gamer. He is very much into the battle aspect of it, but when it gets to role play, he's like, I'm falling asleep. Can we role play less and battle more? And I'm like, no. And he's gotten better and he's gotten used to it, but it is something that has been a challenge for him.
It's always great to try new things and to, open your mind to these options. So good for you.
Like, yes, good for you. I'm glad that he's grown a lot, and he's like gotten really better at role playing and getting into that part of the game too. So it's fun. We also have a player who I've had this one out of all my players. This they called it the zombie, which is someone who shows up because that is their social activity, but doesn't really play. You didn't play with this person, but he would like come, and if at any point he lost the thread of what was happening or lost interest, he would get up, go to my couch, and pull out a Switch and start playing. Bobby,
Respectfully, disrespect.
yeah, like Bobby, if you're here, why are you doing that?
Respectfully, disrespect.
Yes. We ended up having to kick him out because it wasn't really working.
Bet.
But yeah, besides that, we have, and I think this is the type of player that will be conflicting in all groups that there are, and that's the main character syndrome player.
Oh no.
That is the player who will make everything always about them, no matter what's happening. You're having your big emotional moment with your backstory, and then he chimes in and it becomes about him and his contact. And do you know about his backstory? Because this character might know about it, so he'll interrupt.
I was just about to say, I feel like at some point, because I am an only child, I might have played the the main character. And then you described it fully, and I was like, I have never done that last part. I have never done that shit.
I wouldn't say that you've done it. Like
No.
I'm currently I kind of have someone that's veering into that type of player, that type of play, and it's something that I'm trying to very in game and out take him back out of it, because it's not just about you, it's about the party.
Baby,
it's
you're doing the
party
work.
Game.
You're doing the work. You're doing the Lord's, the God's work. And best of luck with you navigating that situation, because I could never. I couldn't.
It's gonna be fine. We're gonna be positive. We're gonna be positive.
Yes.
But yeah, it's part of being a DM, like noticing these things and being like, we need to cut this up. But yeah, like I can say if you're at a table with a character like that, it gets to a point where the entire table feels it and it becomes very negative. And it's up to the DM and the player to work it out or find a solution that definitely works. We additionally have very important, which I think everybody who listens to this can relate to at some point. Everyone at some point has played a murder hobo.
A murder hobo?
Murder hobo, the murder hobo archetype.
Murder hobo. Please elaborate.
That player whose main thing is to just, oh, you're pissing me off? Kill the barmaid. Oh, you're trying to not negotiate with me at the store? Kill the store clerk. Oh, you're being a bully? Kill the king. I think all players at some point have murdered hobo their way through a campaign.
I feel called out.
It's an archetype, and it is the bane of a lot of DM's existence. At the same time, it's pretty funny, and you can play around it because the way you make that be a thing is
it got really red.
You did. Actions have consequences. So once you're murder hoboing the store clerk for not giving you a discount, those guards are gonna be like, "What is this murdering happening? And why is it always Cristina walking out of the stores?" What?
I'm a rogue.
But what's happening? What do you mean?
Yeah. I am her. I am she. She is me. She is me.
Well, these are just some of the examples that we have for players. There's a couple more, but we're running out of time, and I want to make sure we get to our segment called "Is That a Blank?" Cristina, I've sent you an image that looks like a very a sort of armor directly, but it's moving towards you aggressively right after you open a door. It's clanking directly and going for its sword, racing it as its armor just clanks. It's just nobody within the armor. What am I?
An automaton. I mean, I don't know. A possessed armor.
Close, close. It's an
Oh.
animated armor.
Well, look at me saying automaton and possessed. Good for me. I'm learning.
Merge. It's all the growth. Basically they're very low level, but it's a very the way I like to do it. Players see some armors in a hallway, they're in some castle, dungeon, whatever. They walk past them, and then the armors come to life because they open a door, they trick the trap, they this and that. Very including the environment in their attacks, and it's fun, it's easy. They're very physical fighters, they do bludgeoning type of damage, and they're animated with magic.
Well, look at that. Aren't they
Yeah.
pretty?
They are. They're the best.
They shiny.
Yeah. Well, that is another episode of Is That an Owlbear podcast? A D&D
A D&D
podcast.
podcast. Look at you. You know the name. You
I
know the
did it
name. I'm
by
so
myself.
proud of you. Yep.
You can find us on our socials at Owlbear Pod on Instagram, Owlbear Pod 1 on Twitter. You can find me at Joe Harrell. You can find me at Start Playing Games under DM Joe.
You can also find us on YouTube as Owlbear Pod. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitch as Crispa Contreras, and on Twitter and TikTok as Crispa120. Again, if you guys have any questions, if you want to play with us, shoot us a message, reach out to us on any of the socials. We will get back to you. We can plan something, and we are actually excited to potentially be playing with some listeners. So check us out.
Check us out, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.